Hello and welcome. On this episode of Abby Normal Garage, this episode we'll be working on this Cub Cadet SLT1554. One of our buddies brought this in, probably as a test of faith more than anything else. He says the transmission's locked up, but it does roll, and I am able to turn the pump shaft. So, I'm going to try to get it started and see what it does, and then we'll go from there. So the first thing that I'm going to do is purge the fuel lines because the gas smells like varnish. So we'll unhook that, then we'll pull the shroud off, pull the carburetor off, and go through that. Well, an update, we took the hood off, we swapped in a new battery, we bypassed the safety for the PTO because it wouldn't crank, wouldn't even try to crank. And now we got it to the point where the starter solenoid clicks. However, let's take our test light and see if power's even getting to the starter. Nope. So the starter solenoid's junk. We're jumping to montage mode early in this video. We got a lot to do and only a short time to do it in. We first start by removing the cowling. This is a pretty simple process. It's a mixture of 8mm and 10mm bolts. With that out of the way, we then remove this plastic cover to get to the carburetor. And now we take the traveling roadshow to the bench. As usual, we start by cleaning the exterior. We then remove the fuel shutoff valve. We ended up doing this off camera because we had to put it in the vise. Then remove the 4 screws that hold the carburetor bowl on. We decided to give our electric screwdriver a little try out here. This thing works pretty good. Oh man, look at that nastiness. Huh, we're going to have to do something about that. Now we're going to go ahead and remove the float. Now we'll remove this rubber plug, which will give us access to the idle circuit. Okay, that one's out. Now we're going to do the other jet. What's really neat about these Keenan carburetors is you can take the top off and it gives you extra passages to clean and better access to things. Now we count turns in on the idle air bleed and remove it. And now we gently tap the main nozzle out. With all the jets removed, we flush all the passages out with carb cleaner. This usually gets the big chunks, if any. This one doesn't look really that bad, but it wasn't getting fuel through it. Now we use our Bristol brushes to clean each passage that we can get to. You can get these on Amazon, they're pretty nice for this purpose. We then flush the passages out with carb cleaner again. Now we're going to go ahead and scrape all this goo out of the bowl. Now we hit it with some Scotch-Brite and carb cleaner to polish it to a good finish. Here we are putting it back together again. Apparently the jets got installed by magic this time. Gotta love how that YouTube magic works sometimes. Now we set the bowl back on, we get these 4 screws started, and we use our electric screwdriver to drive them home. The next time you see this thing, we'll be trying to start it. Well, is this thing going to start? We shall see. Choke. This is having ignition. First problem you're gonna run into. Now it does. This side doesn't. Give it a shot, see what happens. It's pretty clear that the ignition coil is bad and that we don't have fire on one cylinder, but it still runs pretty good. We're still going to go ahead and give this thing a test rip, make sure the transmission's working fine. The owner said that the transmission locked up and that's why it ended up setting so long. It seems fine now, but we'll keep an eye on it. Well, we got quite a bit of parts on the shelf for this thing. We've got tube for the rear, tube for the front, drive belt, starter solenoid, air filter, new spindles for the mower deck, and a coil kit to convert it from the digital spark advance to the new style ignition. So yeah, we're just going to dive right in. It's currently 91 degrees in the shop. Abby's having a fun time with the heat. She's probably thinking, for the love of God, can we please get to 1,000 subscribers and get monetized so we can afford air conditioning? Is that what you're thinking? Yeah, who knows? All I know, it's rough. We went ahead and replaced all the other fuel lines off camera, but we saved this one because you have to remove the cowling to get to it. And just like that, the cowling comes off. First thing we're going to do here is unplug the spark plug wires. Then we'll come in with the impact and remove the coils. These are the digital spark advance coils. They were phased out years ago. Then there's actually a retrofit kit seen here that gives you 2 of the new style coils, an adapter harness, and very detailed instructions. So the first step in this process is to clean off the magnet and the coil bosses, because the coils need to have a good connection to ground. We use sandpaper to clean the ones we couldn't get to with the grinder. Here we are zipping the new coils on. Now there's actually a trick to setting the air gap on these things. You can install them fully pulled out, then turn the flywheel magnet to where it's in front of the coil, and with a feeler gauge, you shove the feeler gauge in there, and when you loosen the coil up, the magnet pulls it against the flywheel with the feeler gauge, setting the air gap effortlessly. Then you retighten it. Make sure it's tight, because if these loosen up, it'll damage the engine. And you just turn the flywheel to pull it out. Air gap on these coils is 10 to 13 thousandths. Now we go ahead and hook up our little pigtail that came in our kit. Now, because the old coils are battery ignition, we have to do a little bit of wiring here, but it's no big deal. The white wire is really the only wire we're concerned about. It's the kill wire. The green wire is just a ground. We're not too worried about that. And the red wire provided power to the coils and the fuel shutoff solenoid. So we need to disconnect it and splice it back into the fuel shutoff solenoid only. That way we have fuel flow. Then we'll hook up our white wire to our coil harness, and this puppy should be ready to go. I prefer to use these heat shrink solderless butt connectors on almost everything nowadays. Well, anyway, let's move on to changing that starter solenoid. Here's a new one in the degree of unnecessarily complicated things. So the starter solenoid is under here, but you can't get to it, the bolts this way. You can't get to them from the back side. There's not enough room to get to them from the side, so you literally have to take this whole bracket out to get to it. Why they built it that way, I have no idea. Okay, green goes on the left and red goes on the right. There you go. All that for that. Okay. Yeah, that thing got hot and melted. Well, we got our new coils installed. We got our air filter installed. We got our battery and solenoid installed. Let's go ahead and give it a shot. See what happens. Yay! Let's go for a ride. It takes a little bit of choke. We're now at the part in our program where we just say no to flat tires. This thing had 3 flat tires, 1 in the rear, 2 in the front. We're going to just take care of that. We may not be the tire kings, but we're certainly the champions today. We got all 3 of these done before our car club meeting. First we removed the bead in the front. Then I like to pop the back bead off too. It makes it pretty easy to put the tube back in. And then we wipe this thing down with tire mounting paste. We use this liberally because we have a huge tub of it and it seems to last a long time. This will help this bead slide back on the rim. Now for the part we've all been waiting for. We shove the tube in here. Then after careful alignment, we shove the valve stem through the rim and we put a locking collar on it. We then wipe this bead down with tire mounting paste to make this easy. Stealing a trick from our friends over at Tennessee Mountain Homestead, we use a bar clamp to clamp this down to keep it in the part of the rim, and we just easily install it, just like that. Now we put a little bit of air in it, and this one's done. We'll do the next 2 off camera. Okay, so we're under the Shine Masters mower. And we're trying to change the drive belt, which has definitely seen better days. And the instructions say remove the electric clutch. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Or maybe we're not. Okay. That's a problem. That's a pretty good problem, actually. We kind of need to drop that off to drop this drive pulley off, because the frame's got these belt guides on either side and they're not removable. So this is great. Something's melting. There you go. Just pull this crankshaft pulley off. Okay. Pull the belt out. Okay, we'll start by looping it over the transmission. Without breaking any fan blades. There we go. Okay, so it goes like that. The back side goes over this. Alright, let's go put this on the engine now. We'll shove it through the channel on the frame. Okay, let's transfer up front. Hey, Abby. Okay. Oh, come on. You got nothing to tap it up with. Okay, I think that's what it is. Okay. Now we'll worry about... Yes, Abby, I know it's hot. Oh, don't lay on me, whatever you do. Too hot for that. Pull the tension off. There we go. Okay. Alright. Good. What do you think, Abby? You think it's hot? I think it's hot too. You think it's done right though? You think? Looks good, don't it? Yeah. I love you. I love you. Okay. Well, now that Abby and I have had a bonding moment, this seems like a good part to end part one. This is definitely going to be a two-parter because we haven't even started on the mower deck and it's in pretty bad shape. What we're watching now is some clips from part two, maybe some of the highlights. Feel free to like the video, share the content with anybody who's got a Cub Cadet that's trying to save it. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and we'll see you on the next episode of Abby Normal Garage.